Wait a minute, hold on. You've been duped. You've been bamboozled. Over the last few centuries, believers have been duped and bamboozled into celebrating Easter. After Constantine decided to Christianize the empire, Easter was changed to represent Jesus. But at its roots, Easter, which is how you pronounce Ishtar, is all about celebrating fertility and sex. Anglo-Saxon pagans celebrated this time of rebirth by invoking Ishtar or Astaria, the goddess of spring, the dawn, and fertility. To celebrate nature's rebirth, the ancients would hold festivals in April to honor the goddess, which most likely included lavish sex rituals, yes, and even full-on orgies. So, there are 10 reasons believers should not, I repeat, should not celebrate Easter. Reason number 1. Easter is not found in the Bible. Easter is no doubt one of the most popular Christian celebrations in our modern times, but won't you be surprised to know that Easter isn't mentioned in the Bible, not even once. If Easter is such an important festival to the Most High, shouldn't we read specific commandments to celebrate it or keep it? Now some of you may say, hey, you're wrong. I read Easter in Acts chapter 12 verse 4. And when he had apprehended him, he put him in prison and delivered him to 4 squads of soldiers to keep him, intending after Easter to bring him forth to the people. I hate to break it to you, but that is a glaring mistranslation. History shows us that some Bible translators can't believe that they can't find Easter in the Bible. Thus, as a desperate move, they deliberately mistranslated the Greek word Pesach, which is properly translated elsewhere as Passover. The majority of Bible translators and scholars agree that Easter is a gross mistranslation. Thus, if you read modern Bible translations today, you would read Passover instead of Easter. Reason number 2. Easter originated in paganism. So if Easter didn't originate in the Bible, where did it come from? It came from an ancient form of pagan worship in Babylon. If you have thought all your life that Easter means resurrection of Christ, then you need to review what history and scholars have to say about this term. The word Easter came from the ancient Assyrian goddess named Ishtar, pronounced by the Assyrians in the same way as we pronounce Easter. If that's not surprising enough, the Babylonian name of this goddess includes Astarete, and in Hebrew it is Ashtoreth, the Queen of Heaven. Here's an interesting fact. Easter is actually found in the Bible, but it was written in Hebrew as Astareth, also referred as the Queen of Heaven. But instead of a festival promoted by the Most High, it is actually a pagan worship denounced and condemned by Him. Let me read the following passages to you so that you will have an idea of how detestable and abominable Easter is to the Most High. The children gathered wood, and the fathers kindled the fire, and the women kneaded the dough to make cakes to the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings to other gods, that they may provoke me to anger. Jeremiah 7:18. For Solomon went after Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Zidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Amorites. 1 Kings 11:5. You can check any encyclopedia, books, and resources and sources to see what they have to say about Easter. I believe I have said enough to prove that Easter is truly rooted in paganism, but I have more receipts. Reason number 3. Easter encourages lying. Just like people lie about Santa and the Tooth Fairy to their children, it is also common for parents to lie to their children about the Easter Bunny. They tell children that Easter Bunny lay eggs for them to look for. While grown-ups might think that this is just one of those harmless little lies, it is still counted as a lie. For the Bible warns us about lying. Here are some of the relevant passages or receipts that we should pay attention to. Therefore, laying aside falsehood, speak truth, each one of you, with his neighbor, for we are members of one another. Ephesians 4:25. Do not lie to each other, since you have taken off the old self with its practices. Colossians 3:9. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. Exodus 12:16. As you can see, a lie is a lie is a lie, whether it's in fun or not. If we are to really live up to the standards set by our master, then we must put away all forms of lying in our lives, and that includes the lies we say during Easter. Reason number 4. First century believers didn't keep Easter as a festival. If you have been led to believe that believers have been keeping Easter since the death of Yeshua, aka Jesus, then think again. The first century believers never celebrated Easter or anything that resembles any of its traditions. If early followers of the Messiah saw that it was fit and important to celebrate Easter, or was commanded by Jesus himself that they should commemorate this resurrection, then we should find a passage in the writings of the apostles and other New Testament authors about Easter. But we don't, because there isn't. This is another indication that Easter isn't really a biblical celebration to start with. Here's another interesting fact. The pagans have been celebrating Easter thousands of years, even before the resurrection of the Messiah. In an effort to convert more people to the new religion of Christianity, the false church incorporated the pagan celebration of Ishtar and gave it a little biblical flavor, making the new religion more palatable to the taste of pagan worshipers. However, instead of Christianity overcoming paganism, the opposite happened. That's why we now see Christianity as we know it today, as a mixture of paganism and biblical practices. Reason number 5. We are not free to add any religious holidays or celebrations. Some people argue that we are free to add religious celebrations as long as we have the right motivation. They further use as proof of their argument how Christ didn't correct the Hebrews in his days when they added Hanukkah or Purim in the religious holidays. John 10:22 and 23. Of course, this is a weak argument. For one, if we compare the origins of these Hebrew holidays to Easter, we can immediately see the stark difference. Purim was instituted to commemorate the Jewish deliverance during the time of Esther, while Hanukkah, aka the Feast of Maccabees, aka the Feast of Dedication, aka the Festival of Lights, celebrates the rededication of the Jerusalem temple after it was defiled during the Syrian invasion. On the other hand, Easter was and is rooted in paganism, which the Most High hates and detests. Like Hanukkah and Purim, in their original form, are not against the Most High's commandment. However, this isn't the case with Easter. Reason number 6. Easter symbolisms have nothing to do with Jesus, aka Yeshua. If we will just be honest with ourselves, the symbolism associated with Easter does not have anything to do with our Messiah. Ask yourself, what does the Easter bunny have to do with the resurrection of Christ? What about the colored eggs, baskets, candy, buns, etc.? Are they related in any way with Jesus? And if so, how? Bunnies, eggs, and buns are undeniable remnants of the dark origin of Easter. Bunnies and eggs have long been used by pagans to symbolize fertility. The buns or cakes are used in the worship of the Queen of Heaven mentioned in Jeremiah 7 and 18. While it is true that there is nothing inherently evil in bunnies, eggs, and buns, but it is certainly not acceptable for believers to use pagan emblems to worship the Most High Yah. We don't see Christ, the apostles, and early followers using bunnies and eggs and buns when worshiping our Heavenly Father. Then why do we do it? Reason number 7. Jesus wasn't resurrected on a Sunday morning. Here's another lie being propagated during Easter. Most Christians believe that Jesus was killed on a Friday afternoon and was resurrected in the early morning on Sunday. But this is not true. Matthew 12:14 clearly states that Jesus will be in the grave for 3 days and 3 nights. Jesus was very clear. He said, I will be in the heart of the earth 3 days and 3 nights. No more and no less. Now is a Friday afternoon crucifixion and a Sunday morning resurrection constitute 72 hours? Obviously not. At its best, it's less, hear me, less than 48 hours. It is either Jesus lied and we don't have a Messiah, or we have been taught falsely by deceived pastors, teachers, theologians, family members, and friends. Here's the surprising truth. Jesus died on a late afternoon Wednesday and was resurrected on a late afternoon Saturday. fulfilling the 72-hour prophecy of being in the grave 3 days and 3 nights. I recognize that this is a huge topic, and I don't have time to discuss it in deeper details today. Reason number 8. We ought to worship the Most High in spirit and in truth. We read, "But the hour is coming, and now is, when the true worshipers would worship the Father in spirit and in truth. For the Father is seeking such to worship him. The Most High is spirit, and those who worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth." John 4:23 and 24. Now let us ask ourselves, does Easter allow us to worship the Most High in spirit and in truth? If we're going to worship the Most High, it should be on his own terms and conditions, not ours. We are not to follow the traditions of men. We always need to go back to the Most High and ask him how he wants us to worship him, and not how we want to worship him. There's a huge difference between the two. Obviously, Easter isn't the truth. For one, it falsely claims that Jesus died on a Friday afternoon and rose on a Sunday morning. Secondly, Easter encourages us to lie to our children after Easter bunnies laying colorful eggs. Thirdly, Easter is a recycled, ancient, pagan way of worshiping that the Most High hates. Let's read Deuteronomy 12:29 through 32. "When the Lord your God cuts off from you the nations which you go to dispossess, and you displace them and dwell in their land, take heed to yourself that you are not ensnared to follow them after they are destroyed from before you, and that you do not inquire after their gods, saying, how did these nations serve their gods? I also will do likewise. You shall not worship the Lord your God in that way, for every abomination to the Lord which he hates, they have done to their gods. For they burn even their sons and daughters in the fire to their gods. Whatever I command you, be careful to observe it. You shall not add to it, nor take away from it." The Most High is warning the ancient Israelites that they should not add pagan worship to their religion. In the same way, the Most High admonishes us, his followers, to not use paganism to worship him. The Most High considers these things as an abomination. Reason number 9. We are to celebrate the death of the Messiah, not his resurrection. Do you know that we don't read any command in the Bible to commemorate the resurrection of Jesus the Christ? Instead, we see a command to commemorate his death. Now, don't get me wrong. The resurrection of Jesus is highly important, as it further proves his divinity and claims to be the very Son of the Most High. His resurrection also gives us the hope that we too will be resurrected during that second coming. 1 Corinthians 15:7. However, we need to understand what the Bible tells us. The death of Jesus is the primary focus of the true holy day of the Most High, which is Passover. We read in 1 Corinthians 11:24 through 27. "Take, eat, this is my body which is broken for you. Do this in remembrance of me." In the same manner, he also took the cup after supper, saying, "This cup is the new covenant in my blood. This do as often as you drink it in remembrance of me. For as often as you eat this bread and drink this cup, you proclaim the Lord's death till he comes. So you see, it was Jesus' death that we should remember. It is not his resurrection. Easter is a counterfeit pagan holiday that masks and cover up the truth about the Most High's plan of salvation. Last but not least, reason number 10. Christ instituted the Passover, not Easter. It is sad that the popularity of Easter overshadowed the very important holy day known as Passover. It was instituted by none other than Yeshua, our Messiah. Jesus kept the Passover. The apostles kept the Passover. The early followers of Jesus kept the Passover. How come we don't keep the Passover? All of these are established facts. Then why do we insist on celebrating a pagan holiday which is not found in the Bible, but in fact condemned by the Most High? Isn't it time for us to get our worship straight and do what the Most High commands us to do? It is a choice for us to make. Will we celebrate the Most High ordained Passover or the humanly devised Easter? Let us take heed the warning written in Hebrews 10, 26 and 27. For if we sin willingly after we have received the knowledge of the truth, there no longer remains a sacrifice for sins, but a certain fearful expectation of judgment and fiery indignation which will devour the adversaries. May we all have the courage to do what is right and pleasing in the Most High's sight. Let's stop celebrating Easter and instead keep the Passover. Now you know.